Right, the next segment is also another champion speaker. Right, he is a corporate trainer as well as the founder of VisionsOne Consulting. He's also a chartered accountant and adjunct professor with the National University of Singapore. He is also the Pan Southeast Asia District 51 Humorous Speech Champion winner. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are very honored to have him on stage today because he is a very dynamic speaker as well as a very successful coach and trainer. Ladies and gentlemen, let us put our hands together to welcome James Leong. And the title of the speech is, What's in a Name? What's in a Name? James Leong.
Thank you, Patient. A very good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
Many people know me as James. I also have a Chinese name. My family name is Leong, which makes me a Cantonese. How many of you are Cantonese here in this room? Good. I have a middle name which I shortened to the letter C. And my last name is spelled F-O-O, pronounced as Fu. So the other day I gave my name card to an Australian lady and she very politely called out my name, Leong Si Fu. So you could either call me James or you could call Leong Si Fu. I'll be happily answering you. So today I'm going to talk to you about names. What's in a name? Now in particular, I noticed that, so I was away for a little while over the last 10 days traveling, but I read that there was a change in ownership of one popular building in Singapore, a commercial building called Compass Point. So the new owners decided, let's start afresh and have a new name for this building. So they held a contest, gave away a prize. And the winning entry was from Compass Point. Do you know what's the new name? It's called One Sengkang Mall. So that was the reaction of people who knew about the name, but then the lucky lady walked away with $1,000. He said, what, for that name, $1,000, One Sengkang Mall? But that's not the only one example in Singapore. We have very interesting names, stories about names in Singapore. For example, we know about this place called people travel today on budget airlines, yes? So they decided to build a terminal, and they are wondering, they're scratching their heads, what should we call this terminal? Guess what happened? So they decided to hold a contest, and the prize, not $1,000, but $28,000 for the prize. And somebody won it. And the winning entry was Budget Terminal. That's for $28,000. And in Singapore, we have our very beloved financial center. That's the cream of the crop. And the crown jewel of Singapore, where is this place?
The sale.
No, the Marina Bay. Guess what they did? So they want to find out what's the best appropriate name for this area, where it's going to be Singapore's top crowning glory. So they spent $400,000. They engaged a consulting branding company. After 400 names that's been considered, they came out with the final decision, Marina Bay, for $400,000. So after listening to this, I found that the next time they have a naming contest, I'm going to take part because it doesn't seem that difficult after all.
Yeah.
Yes. And as Singaporeans, I'm sure you agree with me that we are a nation that's very fond of acronyms. Would you agree?
Yes.
We love our acronyms. So most of us live in our favorite, beloved HDB flats, which we fund with our hard-earned CPF. In the morning, we go to work in the CBD, and if you decide to pay the price, you could drive on the PIE and pay your ERP, in spite of paying very high, costly COE. Or if you decide to take public transport, you might get stuck in the MRT. So that's our life, revolving around acronyms. I incidentally happen to be a CPA. Anyone knows what a CPA stands for?
Professional accountant?
Something like this. Yes, thank you. So when I first got my CPA, when I first attained my CPA, I was very excited. I told my best friend, I said, guess what, I finally did it. My friend kept quiet. So I repeated myself. I said, I'm a CPA. And he said, did you just change job? I said, what has that got to do with changing job? He said, didn't you just tell me you're now working with the URA? I said, what has this got to do with the URA? Friend turned to me and said, but you just told me you are a car park attendant. Well, Singaporeans are not the only people on this earth who are fascinated by acronyms. In fact, even corporates themselves are fascinated by the ABCs. Example, Google restructured itself, and the holding company is now called Alphabet. So if you want to buy Google shares, it's no longer Google, you're going to be buying Alphabet shares, but still GOOG, that's the stock code. And in the space of public accounting, there are a few well-known firms, which I'm sure that many of you are aware of, the big four firms. If I mention EY, do you know what it stands for? Yeah, very good. And there's also KPMG, where I used to work with. And also, there's PwC. What is PwC?
PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Thank you. So recently, I went to Penang for a short vacation. The driver brought me to this wonderful place called the Coffee and Chocolate Museum. Went in for coffee tasting. They had all these flasks that's laid out, and they got labels on it. And I saw this one label, which was particularly interesting because it was a grey flask with a white label on it that says PwC. I said, that's interesting, I'd like to try that. He said, what is PwC? And he said, Penang White Coffee. Now, talking about Penang, I spent a few days in Penang, hire different cab drivers to drive me for half a day each of the day. So, on day one, when he was driving me around, I noticed that it seems that wherever I go, that I seem to see this sign, big sign that says, one arrow pointing to one direction that says, Jalan Sahala. I was very curious, didn't take too much notice of it except that it just keeps showing up. Day number two, hired a different cab driver, drove me around different places, and I saw the same sign again, wherever corner I turn, big signs that says Jalan Sahala with an arrow pointing. Third day, hired a different driver, I saw the same sign that says Jalan Sahala, with the arrow pointing in one direction. So I was very puzzled, very curious, and I couldn't take it anymore. I said, well, I've got a couple more hours left. So I said, I really have to visit this wonderful place in Penang called Jalan Sahala because it seems so popular, right? Wherever I go, it just point me to this direction, go to Jalan Sahala. So I told the driver, I said, can you please drive me to Jalan Sahala? Now, when he heard what I asked him to do, he started laughing uncontrollably, and in fact, he laughed so violently that he almost caused an accident. But luckily for me, it was quite close to a hotel, so we pulled up at the hotel when he came, and then he paused and said, so I can bring you to... No, this guy has worked in Singapore for a couple of years, so he knew our streets quite well. He said, I could bring you to Jalan Besar. I could bring you to Jalan Eunos. I could bring you to Jalan Toa Payoh, but I can never bring you to Jalan Sahala. I said, why? And then I found out the reason. Now, what is Jalan? Jalan in Malay simply means street. And Jalan Sahala simply means one-way street.